Good afternoon, everyone. As a parent of 6 children that attend all of the schools in the Department of Education of New York City and are doing well, I have to come and stand on behalf of the children that are not doing well. Someone at the helm of education who does not know us, who does not know anything about the Department of Education, who do not come up through the ranks of a classroom like some of our qualified teachers, should not be at the helm of my child's education. She cannot model anything for any teacher, any principal in the classroom. So how can we allow this travesty to happen to 1.1 million children? The parents of New York City definitely deserve better of this mayor. The parents of New York City definitely deserve better of the legislators who are allowing the mayor to continue in this vein. And it is an insult to our intelligence as parents that we will allow this to happen in New York City. New York City is at the forefront of education in this nation. No other city does not have an educator at the helm. So are we going to allow this?
No.
No. Are we going to allow this?
Waiver. No.
No. Deny the waiver. Deny the waiver.
Deny the waiver. Deny the waiver.
But as a parent of a child with disabilities, I have to navigate and abide by a staggering labyrinth of federal and state law and regulation just in order to obtain my son the education and related services he needs to be successful in school. I find it unconscionable that Commissioner David Steiner has been unable to find a way to hold Mayor Bloomberg also subject to the law, especially with respect to the selection of the next New York City Schools Chancellor, whose responsibilities include ensuring that my son and the more than 180,000 students with an IEP are provided with the free and appropriate education that the landmark federal law, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, is supposed to guarantee. Why is our mayor above the law and our children with the greatest need and their families are not?
Researching the rules and regulations that implement the provision for the waiver. We believe that Kathleen Black does not meet those requirements. We are also researching the legislative history of when the waiver went into effect and what the reason was for the waiver and what the criteria then and now is.
The scores have shown that the students have not made very much achievement at all, and the achievement gap in New York City schools has been shown not to have been diminished. Instead of spending millions and millions on data, testing, PR, school report cards, lots of reorganizations, why not give schools the resources they need to improve education? Urban schools have been grossly underfunded for years. Lower class sizes, high quality after school and summer programs, and not just test prep. Lots of arts, technology, sports programs to motivate and excite our students. A culturally connected curriculum, just to name a few. These are the kinds of schools that Bloomberg, Black, and Obama send their children to. Not the kind of schools they are trying to create for our children. Right. So we need a chancellor that really understands the kinds of schools and teaching that is needed, as well as someone who will make sure schools get the resources they need to provide the high-quality education our students deserve.
Thank you, Lisa.
Right on.
We teachers, we have to have credentials. We have to pass licensing exams. We have to go through a rigorous program of education. We must have a master's degree. Even administrators must have a degree. They must also be able to pass certain tests now. And it's not fair that she should just be skirted in as a New York City chancellor because it's the lives of 1.1 million children at stake. And we're out here today to encourage the parents to come out, 1.1 million mothers, to come up and stand up for their children and get the mother's agenda of New York City in place for people to understand that you cannot come and play with the lives of our children. You cannot come and pass policies that don't help children but hurt children. For the past 8 years, the high school dropout rate has increased in New York City. It has not decreased. place as the mayor and the chancellor has put out several times. This is about our children. This is about the future of the United States. It's about the future of New York City. We cannot continue to pass policies and pass people through who do not have the lives of our children who are at stake in mind. They only have their pocketbooks in mind, and this must stop. We must educate our children. They must be educated properly, and they must be entitled to their free and appropriate education that's guaranteed by law.
Because what we're doing here now is, it's a mockery. The mayor is laughing in our face. Education means nothing to them. And I'm sorry. There's a 1.1 million reason I'm going to fight to the bitter end. And I think everybody else should too. It's not just teachers. It's not just parents. It's the community. It's the world. We better jump on this now because they're out to get us.
As parents, we don't want to see an experiment with our kids. We do not want someone to spend the next 3 years learning on the job. Someone who has spent the last 66 years showing zero interest in our kids and in public education. That is a slap in the face to our kids and to all of the constituencies and the stakeholders in the public education process. Why the mayor is doing it is beyond us. He hasn't been able to explain it to his own people.
Privatization.
He hasn't been able to explain it to the teachers, and he certainly can't explain it to the parents. Well, now he's going to probably have to explain it to the judge.
Is that we have deeply, deeply felt race issues in education. Inherently, this bureaucratic system is a racist system. And we don't see at the very, very top of the system those who understand, who relate to, who have a feel for, and who love, deeply love our children, our Black, our Latino children, our immigrant children, who are the majority. Remember, we are the many, and yet throughout the city, particularly in Title I schools, which again are the majority, we see failure year after year after year, particularly under mayoral control.
When people are about to lose their job, why should someone get $290,000 a year to sit there and do nothing while somebody else does their job? That doesn't make any sense. To be a chancellor, you must know certain things. To come into a classroom, you must know certain things. That's the law, that's the educational requirement, and to do this is absurd. So for someone to say that we're not in consideration of Cathie Black to have a co-chair, it has nothing to do with a co-chair. If you go for surgery, I used this analogy yesterday, if you go for surgery and the administrator of the hospital tells you that the doctor never went to medical school but he got a waiver, but we're going to get someone to stand in the operating room and read a manual while he cuts you open, I don't think anybody would accept that. That's what you're asking us to accept, and we cannot accept that in the city of New York. 1.1 million parents cannot accept it. 1.1 million children cannot accept it. We cannot accept our children, especially in urban areas, to continuously fail and no one to stand up and say this is wrong. We need our politicians out here. We need our elected officials. We need the people in Albany who passed this mayor control law and disregarded the beliefs of the public who went against the voters who put them in office. We need to hold them accountable, not just Mayor Bloomberg, but the politicians in general must be held accountable. Our religious leaders must be held accountable. Everybody in the city of New York is responsible for the future of the city. And if you stand by and allow children to fail, and you stand by and accept policies that are hurting children, then you're just as guilty as someone doing it themselves.
We intend to fight back over here. This is our right, our human right. We have a human right, and that right is to fight back against this